back, friends. I'm Yvonne Davis, and today I'm going to do a reading on the Leo full moon. So let's go ahead and pull up that chart and see what we can say about that. Okay, so here is the Leo full moon, which is on January 28th, 2021 at 2:15 p.m. in Washington, D.C. So the sun is at 9 degrees, 5 minutes Aquarius opposite the moon, 9 degrees Leo, 5 minutes. And the sun is conjunct Jupiter, so that would be considered favorable. And it's also got Saturn next to it within less than a 5-degree orb. Okay, so that would be considered a conjunction as well. It's also got a square to the Uranus Mars conjunction. So since we have been talking about issues that evolved ever since the moon was opposite Mars and Uranus and Taurus on January 6th, and I said that that would kick off a kind of crazy time period, and which it did. It kicked it off in a very shocking and explosive way, which is typical of Mars and Uranus and the moon. And I feared it would get worse, but it turned out that we actually were really, really blessed by the way that everything unfolded, because it gave warning such that our officials were able to prepare. And so the inauguration basically went off without a hitch. So that's really wonderful. So I also see this as a form of evolution. Now, I'm not saying that the whole problem has been solved, but I have a much more encouraged attitude now because of seeing how things have unfolded so far. I think that we are not completely out of the woods yet, because the full moon it's like striking a match, it can reactivate the Uranus-Mars square, plus Mars and Uranus as well are going to be boosted by the Sun-Jupiter conjunction and also by the full moon. They're not being quite as limited by Saturn. There is still some Saturn limitation coming in, which is good. Saturn creates boundaries and limitations and contains that explosive energy, so that that Mars will be somewhat constrained by the square to Saturn, but not quite as much at the full moon, because now it's moved out of the exact square. It's got about 5 degrees between itself and Saturn. So it's going to be a little bit more liberated by that, and also fired up by the full moon. The word lunatic comes from lunar, because statistically it's been shown that people get crazier around the full moon. So we're not completely out of the woods, but I think that once we get past this full moon, that the worst of it will actually be over, which is super, super encouraging, because having looked at those alignments, I didn't know how bad it could get, because those alignments were as bad as the ones that kicked off the Civil War. Not just the square, but also the opposition of Neptune and Neptune. Those alignments were typical of the American Civil War. So I wasn't sure how bad it would get, but now I feel like we've really, really evolved. I mean, the fact that the worst of it so far was only, I know this might sound like I'm trivializing it, but I'm not. When I say the worst of it was only the insurrection in the Capitol and 5 deaths. That may sound like I'm trivializing, but I'm not, because compared to the events of the American Civil War and the Civil Rights Movement and other things that have happened in the history of the United States, the fact that only 5 people died, and at least 2 of them weren't, I don't know if they were even directly related to the insurrection itself, Obviously, two of them were directly related. The third possibly because I heard there was someone trampled. The other two were apparently a stroke and a heart attack. And I don't know if those were just coincidental or if they were directly caused by the events of the riot. So we can say that there were 5 deaths in that day and place, but maybe only 3 of them were directly related to the insurrection. And only one officer actually died. And as I said, you know, in a way, he gave his life for a greater cause because I know that I have absolutely no doubt that his death saved so many lives, because it could have been so much worse if you know, if people had descended on Washington, D.C. on Inauguration Day without the preparation that they had. It could have been just horrific. So that's why I say that actually the way it unfolded was such a miracle, such a blessing. And you know, that we can be grateful for that in the end. And I think that, like I said, I think we still have to wait until we get past this full moon, which full moons can take usually no more than 5 days before they fully spent their energy. So that would take us into early February, plus the fact that Mercury is going retrograde. And I think that when Mercury goes retrograde, that doesn't necessarily mean that nothing will happen, but if anyone tries to commit any violence with Mercury retrograde, that will definitely be caught. There's no doubt about that. So that's the political situation. And in terms of just your personal horoscope or astrological forecast, what you want to do with this energy is you want to use it as a completion phase. And the reason why I'm saying that is because once we reach the full moon, then we go into a waning phase, which means that you don't initiate things during a waning phase, plus the fact that Mercury will turn retrograde almost immediately after this full moon. So we want to complete any projects, okay? That's what we want to be focused on, is completing projects. If you absolutely have to initiate something, at least do it before the full moon, okay? Because at least up until the moon is full, again, the exact moment is 2:15 p.m. Washington, D.C. time. Up until that moment, the moon is still waxing. It's still growing in its light, okay? It's still moving toward fruition. So if you need to get things done, this is a great time to do it, okay? So anything you need to do, anything you need to initiate, do it now. And also, this full moon will be fabulous for illuminating your mind, okay? And the reason why I say that is because full moons are always illuminations. They're like a light bulb going off in your head. They reveal information to you that you had not realized before. And with the square of Uranus to the planets in Aquarius, because Uranus rules Aquarius, there is tremendous opportunity for inspiration, ingenuity, you know, huge light bulbs going off, breaking through old mental patterns, old behavioral patterns, old core limiting beliefs. You can really, really crack out of them with this kind of alignment. And then the Mars gives you the energy to take action. So what you always want to be doing is watching where you get triggered and heal whatever it is that's getting triggered, okay? And once you do that, then you can listen to what wants to be healed. What is it that's wanting needs that are wanting to be met, you know? You can ask yourself that question, and then you can use the Mars energy to take action to get things done, okay? So So this is a great time to get things done, all the way up to 2:15 p.m. Eastern time. And of course, you adjust for your own time zone. Up until that moment, it's a great time to get things done and to take action, to have massive breakthroughs and make changes, break old habits, bad habits, break old core limiting beliefs. This is fabulous energy for that. And we are also seeing massive, massive changes taking place on the national level. And that's what this can do too. Because the Mars-Uranus energy is a breaking energy. It breaks with the past. It breaks with things that aren't working. And so you can really, really make breakthroughs and changes at this time. It's interesting thing that we have this Pluto-Venus energy at the same time, because as I said before, with the new moon conjunct Pluto, Pluto is can be really obsessive and intense. And so whenever a planet conjoins Pluto, it can really bring up this obsessive, intense inability to let go of something, or it can create this kind of all or nothing kind of energy. Like you are not on the fence. When you have any kind of planet conjunct Pluto, you are absolutely not on the fence. You are all this way or all that way, all or nothing. It's like a life or death kind of feeling. And so if there's something that you're really intensely passionate about, this can also help you to move in the direction of making that happen. But if you're holding on to something obsessively that you actually need to let go of, this energy could help you to make that breakthrough. Okay. So keep that in mind. So again, up until the full moon is the exact great time to get things done, initiating the activities that you need to initiate. Then once we get to the full moon, it should be a completion phase. Then we move into the waning phase for 2 weeks, which includes Mercury being retrograde that entire time. And so with the waning phase and Mercury retrograde, it's not a good time to initiate new activities. You can do things related to the past. You can go back to the past. You can go back to situations from the past and continue them or complete them or rethink them, reconsider them, revise them, rewrite them, redo them. Anything like that is fine. Or you can, so it's a completion phase, basically. That entire 2 weeks is a completion phase. It's completing things that you've begun or going back to things from the past and completing them. And it can also be a good time for research. Okay, so going inward and thinking deeply about things and doing research. So that this full moon really delineates the before and after, in a sense. Before the full moon and after the full moon. And even though that energy, like I said, can last up to 5 days because of the fact that Mercury turns retrograde, you really don't want to do, anything that initiates or that requires signing a contract or spending a large amount of money. You don't do those kinds of things during Mercury retrograde because they won't work out the way you wanted them to. So there's a very, very delineated before and after with this full moon. Before the full moon, get things done, initiate whatever you need to initiate. After the full moon, don't initiate things. Just complete things, only complete things and finish things up and return to things from the past, reconsider things from the past, rework things from the past, and go inward and do research. So there's a very distinct delineation. And I think we'll see that too with the problems around people who didn't want to accept the outcome of the election. I've heard the latest conspiracy theory is that people think that that Biden's not going to last. There's going to be a military tribunal. He'll be removed from office, which is so outside any objective reality. I don't know how these people can even I don't know how they can believe this stuff, you know. Sometimes I think it must be like this stuff is injected into the internet by some Russian operatives, and they probably go home at night laughing like, you can't believe what we said today. And they believed it. Oh my God. Can you believe how stupid they are? You want another vodka? Oh, those Americans, they're so funny. That's what I imagine it must be like behind the scenes. All right, so that's the full moon. I hope you enjoyed this video and were able to learn a lot from it. So if you have any questions, obviously put them in the comments below. And please subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet subscribed. Thank you for liking this video and sharing with friends and family and on social media. And I will see you again in the next video. Have a wonderful Leo full moon, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.